Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you all. It's a great pleasure to welcome you. We're just waiting for a few others to arrive. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. So welcome to you, and I hope you can all see the three speakers, Angela, Peden, Richard Brash, and myself, Andrew Wilmot. I'll be acting as the facilitator for this session, but the real expertise will be coming from Andrew and Richard. I'm here just to make sure that things go reasonably smoothly, so welcome to you. We'll just give it a little bit longer. People are still arriving, and it looks like we're going to have quite a good attendance. One thing I just wanted to ask is just to check that everybody's comfortable with us recording the session, and because a number of people couldn't come today and they wanted to catch up later. So if anybody's got an issue, please use the chat window down at the bottom of the screen, or if you've got an iPad, it will be at the top of the screen. There's a little button. It might be hidden by what's called the horizontal ellipsis, which is the 3 dots in a row, and hidden in there is a chat button, so that if at any stage you want to raise anything with us, or you've got any issues, do raise it in the chat. So that's all you really need to know about the session. We'll be able to, generally people's microphone are muted. We're in webinar mode, so you'll just see the panelists presenting. But if you've got any questions through the session, do raise them through the chat. And it's 4 o'clock now, so I think we're in a position where I think we can go ahead and start. And it's really a great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar being hosted by HJP Chartered Accountants and Brash Solutions on the HMRC Capital Allowances Super Deduction. My name's Andrew Wilmot. I'm the facilitator for the session. I'll just be answering the questions, and I'll be looking at any questions you raise in the chat channel. So I'm chairman of Brash Solutions, and I'm also the Chief Technology Officer, and I've been working with Richard for over 6 years, and it's great to welcome you all. We're aiming to finish at 4:30, and I'll start by introducing Angela and Richard, and then we'll move on to asking and firing away some questions at them. So let me start with Angela. Angela is an FCA, founder of the Hertfordshire-based HJP Chartered Accountants. I asked her what her hobbies were, and she told me that getting things in alphabetical order was really her most important hobby. And it's a good job that her company name, the letters of it are in alphabetical order, because otherwise that would have been a bit contrary. And HJP are Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. They're gold partners with Xero. This sounds very James Bond, but Angela's one of the few people that have that have done experiments on a nuclear reactor on the same machine as her. Not necessarily at the same time, but having been involved in nuclear engineering at Manchester University, the two of us, we'd been out at the university's research reactor several times. So Angela says of herself that she is very much up to speed on tax and business, and she's a business master, straight talking, gets the job done. And Angela will be outlining the tax rules around this new super deduction tax opportunity. Richard is a leading Hertfordshire entrepreneur. He founded Brash Solutions. He is involved as an interim IT director, as a consultant to Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, and Buckinghamshire businesses, and he is involved in a range of different projects. And some of the things he does behind the scenes, he's passionate about climate change, and he is a climate reality leader with the Climate Reality Project, which is the USA global-led project. He's a Hertfordshire Cub Scout leader and a keen cyclist. So just a reminder, any questions, put those questions in the chat channel. So what I'd like to do now is start and ask some questions of Angela is why is it called a super deduction?
Great question. I think to grab our attention and to let us know that this is probably one of the most exciting tax breaks that since research and development tax credits, I suppose. But to put it into a nutshell, for every pound you spend, you not only get the benefit of that pound, but you get the benefit of having spent an extra 30p that you haven't spent. So it's 130% of what you've spent. That's why it's called super.
Oh, brilliant! That sounds great. It sounds very Rishi Sunak, that term.
Very.
And who can claim?
So this is a little disappointing. It's only limited companies. So if you're in partnership with somebody else and you're not in a corporate umbrella or you're a sole trader, then unfortunately this isn't going to help you at all. But if you're a limited company, then this is absolutely in your remit and you can make the most of this.
And how can you claim?
Claiming is easy. It's just part of the regular corporate tax reporting each year. It goes on the corporate tax return and it's part of your capital allowance as claimed. So your accountant will take care of it all for you. You don't have to fill in any special forms or grants or anything like that. Not a nightmare, easy peasy.
Brilliant, brilliant. That sounds great, fantastic so far. And could you give us some examples of what it could be used for?
Yeah, I've got some examples. So anything equipment-y, machines, tools, pneumatic drills, diggers, things like vehicles, vans, lorries, desks, chairs, wall clocks, staplers, and IT kit, which is really what we're all going to spend money on. So
And
that's
you mentioned vehicles. Is that any company, car, van, lorry, anything at
no,
all?
you said the dirty word, haven't you? Car. Cars aren't included. No, no, they don't want us having
Oh,
cars
okay,
or even electric cars. Sorry, sorry.
okay. Now, um, uh, how do we know whether something's an asset or not, or whether it's a license, whether it's a rental or whatever? How would we tell what would be eligible?
So it's how long it's going to last. So if you're going to derive economic benefit for your business from something you're spending money on that's going to last more than a year, sometimes two, there are commentators that say it has to be two, but I'm a little bit more on the just over a year, then it's an asset.
Okay, that's very simple. What records does the company need to keep on this?
Well, I think you should be keeping absolutely meticulous records and you need to help your accountant get this right for you. So be as clear as you can in the description when you're recording it, help them make the right decision for you. So absolutely meticulous records. If your year end is not the 31st of March, then I would set up two accounts in your accounting records, or I call them buckets, and put in everything before the date that this started in one and after the date in another. So it makes it crystal clear.
Okay, great. Well, Angela, I'm sure we'll get some questions from the audience, and we'll come back to you. So let's leap ahead and talk to Richard. Um, a question you probably will enjoy answering is software included?
It's a very good question, Andrew, and yes, I will enjoy answering that. On the whole, software should be included in many circumstances. However, there will be some caveats which I'll run through, and I'm sure Angela will elaborate on as well. So for probably best way is to give an example, something like a website design and build. Now, that primarily will be treated as a capital expenditure, and you would have it for a number of years, deriving income for your business, and before you probably would redesign. Now, there are certain elements in that design and build, such as the investigation and research that you may do up front, and if that is invoiced separately from the whole website build, then that would fall outside. So on the whole, software included.
So all the elements related to the software, so R&D, process design, business design, uh, evaluation, the build, the testing, the deployment. If it's one project, build as a whole or build in stages, it would be eligible.
Yes, if it's built as one project, you'll build as one project. That's going to be a benefit of having a good relationship with your supplier, because they'll obviously help in that and make sure that the wording is correct on invoices, and it's very clear what it's for, the design and build of the website. Then yes.
So you'd want to call the project Yellow Widget Design and Build Project, and you'd have maybe stage payment 1, stage payment 2, stage payment 3, something like that. So
and
you
again,
phase it out over the life of the project.
Yes, and as Angela mentioned, it has to be new, so it has to be. It can't have begun before the 1st of April.
Yeah.
So it has to be after that point. So if it's an ongoing project, that would not be included.
Now, one of the areas you work in, you support a lot of customers using Microsoft 365 products, and that's a monthly subscription in many cases. Is this included?
This is where it becomes a bit more of a grey area. And Angela and I have had a number of discussions on this, and we may well continue during this webinar. Subscriptions may be included if you're purchasing the software and the license fee is on an annual basis, for example, and the software is going to be used and survive as an asset to your business for what some commentators are saying 2 years, as Angela said, maybe 1 year or more, then that should be okay. The problem is that the guidance is very limited at this stage. And Angela, you might want to jump in on the how brief the guidance has been.
Yeah, we've had 2 pages of guidance from HMRC at the moment. And there's lots of chat in the IT community, there's lots of chat in the accounting community, and lots of people with opinions but no facts, which I'm one of those. I don't think your regular ongoing license fee is going to fit in this, but I've been wrong before, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope very deeply that I'm wrong, but I suspect not. But I would still maintain a very clear record so that once we've got a decision, it's very easy to turn it on and off.
Would something like signing more than a single year contract and taking the annual payment option put you necessarily on the right side of the regulation?
I don't think how you pay is going to be at all relevant.
Okay, all right. It's just really how you take title to the products, what's going to be important. Okay, brilliant.
I think what Richard just said is worth going back to, is having a good relationship with your supplier, making sure your supplier understands these rules and writes the invoice in the right way. Okay, that's great guidance there. Richard, what elements of IT purchases would be eligible?
Well, some things that would fit very nicely outside of the grey area would be hardware and hardware devices, installation of those devices. Now, again, you just got to make sure they're new and not second-hand. Not so many people buy second-hand computers for their business these days, but the other option, a lot of people do lease devices, so those would not be included. So it must be purchased as brand new.
And delivery and installation is covered too?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the installation would be covered, and the delivery would be part of getting that asset up and running within your business. One thing that would fall outside is ongoing support, unfortunately, for that asset, and the sort of maintenance as well. So maintenance and support would not fall outside. I think Angela's got a great example of a vehicle, delivering the vehicle, the getting the vehicle to you and up and running. That's part of it, but then putting fuel in the vehicle would not be.
Okay, that's great. Now, we're doing very well for time, and I just wanted to see if anybody in the audience has got a question. Now, there's a button that you can see on a PC. It's at the bottom, and it says raise hand. And in the iPad, I think it's hidden. No, on the iPad, I can't see where it is.
Yeah, there is a.
Can you see it?
I think there is a function, yes, where you.
Okay, so if you can find raised hand, why don't you raise the hand, and we'll maybe ask you to ask your question live. But while we're seeing if anybody is brave enough to put their hands up, is there any special way, and this is one for Angela really, that you might account for these purchases in your accounting system, for example, in Xero?
Yeah, I'd be inclined to have a completely separate account for it. You know, maybe even call it additions super deduction. So your accountant really cannot miss it. I'd like to just go back to something that Richard said about leasing. So leasing is a funny area. If you're never going to own the asset, then Richard's absolutely spot on right. But if it's just a lease finance purchase and you are going to own it at the end, then that won't preclude the super deduction. I think we've had a question from somebody.
Yeah, Duncan Beard. Let me just give him a couple of seconds, and I don't know, Duncan. I don't know whether we can hear you or not. Do you want to ask your question?
Yes, just a quick question for Angela. Just want to confirm. It's our understanding we sell telecoms equipment and phone systems. So just want to confirm whether you believe that a phone system, which should have a 3+ year life in, would be included within this super deduction.
I can't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Wonderful.
And I think if you're clever with your packaging, you know, you can provide the installation and the delivery as part of a package, and the super deduction would cover that as well. I don't know if you provide installation and delivery separately or as a different service, or you don't provide it at all, but you need to package it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Just the political question, really. Why did the Conservative government decide to introduce this particular benefit? Had some sector of the committee asked for it? Or what's the background to it?
You fancy a go at that, Richard?
Well, as far as I understand, the background to it is really trying to revive the economy following the interesting events of the last year.
Okay.
If anyone's unsure of what those events I'm referring to, I think
it's a bit like it's an equipment's version of help out and eat out type thing. So that's the whole idea, but it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is the government is trying to stimulate investment, internal investment in from business.
Okay.
So yeah, this sits very neatly with it.
So
I think there's a question from Robert.
Okay, let me just enable Robert. Give me a second. That's Robert Irving, is it?
Yeah.
Robert, you should be able to talk now.
It's just on mute at the moment.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my question was simply, so I'm setting up a new home office where one doesn't currently exist. Would that, and all the accoutrements for that, would that fall part of this scheme?
I love the words accoutrements. So desks, chairs, tables, shelving units, filing cabinets, absolutely. New telecoms that you could get from Duncan, IT equipment that you can get from Richard, absolutely. But if you're talking about a garden office, then that's a different conversation, as in, I think we've all seen the adverts everywhere, where it's a bit like a summer house at the bottom of your garden that's actually now an office. That's a completely separate conversation and not related to the super deduction.
Okay. Thank you, Angela.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. What I wanted to do is we're coming close to the end, and I would just like to ask Richard to say just a few words of how he'd sum up the opportunity.
Sure. I think for a lot of small business, certainly high growth businesses, a vast amount of your investment is in IT in some form or another. It's the way of the world now, and obviously with the pandemic and home working, there's been an even greater push towards digitalization, cloud computing, remote workers, etc. So I think with that in mind, it will be very interesting, and this is going on to the grey area again. It will be interesting to see how the government does respond to those first people putting those applications through and their judgment on it, because I could give a very good example. So, for example, Sage Software, that's always been a traditional software reseller. You buy the software a one-off cost in the past, or annual licenses, and you get updates, maybe an annual update to the software. Now, Xero is cloud-based, exactly the same function, arguably better function, yet just because of their model, would it be right for the government to not include Xero yet include Sage Software? So I think I've gone away slightly from your question, Andrew, but I think you can see why the categorization of certain software is going to be very crucial in the judgment of the government.
Thanks, Richard. Angela, in a couple of words, how would you sum things up?
I think it's exciting, and I think we need to embrace it as a country. You know, we're being encouraged by our government to invest in our companies, invest in how we work. And that is what is going to get us through this pandemic in a better shape than perhaps we went in. And that's my hope.
Angela, thank you so much for the day. And Richard, thank you so much. And I'd really like to thank everybody who has dialed in today. You must remember that Angela and Richard are very forthright, and they get things done. So you'll be pleased to get back a few minutes that you'd booked out for a half-hour webinar as we finish early. But there's one little favour we want to ask you, is we wanted to get your feedback. There's a little poll should have popped up on your screen. And what's your feedback from today's session? Is it very useful and you have an immediate need? You might have a need later. It's useful but not relevant. It's not very relevant, not relevant at all. So before you sign off, please let us have your feedback. And thank you so much for joining. It's great to have everybody on board at a very, very busy time of year. So thank you indeed for everybody.
Thank you for hosting, Andrew.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Well, I enjoy it. And we're getting some very good responses here. And generally the feedback is very positive. And in a moment, when the votes are more or less finished. So
thank you everyone for joining.
I think I'll share the results there. So you can see the most popular is very useful, but I might have a need later, or very useful, I have an immediate need. So thank you everybody. All the best. Cheerio. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye then.
Bye.